Okay, I see the Sport Trade official tweet there. So,
Perfect. There we are. Then we're live. And you're looking at it right now.
all
Drew Vincent,
right.
what's up? How are you? Early on the West Coast, not quite as early on the East Coast, but we appreciate that you're getting up and watching some tennis with us. How are you?
I'm wonderful, man. My Wednesday is off to an absolutely superlative start. Got to watch a very cathartic experience of Ons Jabeur getting some redemption from last year's Wimbledon final. I've told this story a couple of times already this week, so apologies if you're watching and you're hearing this again. But I was highest plus EV bet I ever made in my life was Ons Jabeur to win Wimbledon. I got her 40-1. She should have been 4-1. The plus, the best bets you make don't always win. That was one of them. She was like minus 1,000 going into the second set after she won the first set on Rybakina last year in the Wimbledon final and just kind of mentally collapsed. I mean, Rybakina, for what it's worth, was the better player in the second and third sets there, but Ons definitely didn't really meet the level that she needed to win the championship. And it was a really tough watch because at that point in her career, it seemed like she was so desperate to get a slam because she wanted to kind of move on to the next phases of her life. At least that was my takeaway from watching sort of the Netflix behind the scenes, documentary on her. Yeah. And so it was a really, really emotional, tough loss last year in the final, particularly for those who were invested in her. And then, she's just a great person. And, I really would like to see her make another run and, get a championship here. I think even without winning now, having kind of exercised the demon of beating Rybakina is, that's meaningful. So she could probably get some closure on that chapter, even if she, if she loses to Sabalenka in the next round here. But, we can talk about that at some point later. But it was a great morning. And very, very, very happy for Ons and very excited for this match. We could go on and on for, an hour, and we will, but this is the future of men's tennis. And this is the second most anticipated match of the year. The most anticipated was Djokovic Alcaraz at the French Open. This is number 2 for me because I see Rune as a future world number 1. Alcaraz is your current world number 1. These guys are going to be fighting for, if everything continues to develop on the current trajectory that it is, these guys are going to be fighting for slams like Federer and Djokovic, right? Like, I don't know that there won't be someone else that joins the party, a Sinner or a younger player comes into the mix who's equally as talented. But right now, at least the 2025 world number 1 and world number 2 are these two guys. And we don't have a ton of history of how they play against each other. So this is going to be a huge learning experience today.
Well, we're talking about Carlos Alcaraz and Holger, and I'm going to show my naivete here. Holger Rune. I assume it's not Rune.
Rune, yes.
Rune, okay, so figure. There you go.
So he's Danish, and his full name is actually quite funny. Not funny, but it's elongated. It's Holger Vitus Nodskov Rune.
Sure, why not?
And Rune is the colloquial descriptor,
as he shall be known as for the remainder of the live stream. We were DMing before we started, and 2 20-year-olds. You mentioned the future of tennis and one of the most highly anticipated matches in Wimbledon and in the season for tennis. 2 20-year-olds. So a lot of things come into play. We talked about it. We did a little bit of a test live stream, and you were talking about Alcaraz hadn't played a ton on grass, right? But the experience factor really going to come into play today too.
Without question. Neither guy has really any pedigree on grass. And the experience at the slam level matters. Experience on grass matters, right? Figuring out what parts of your game are especially effective in high leverage moments takes time, takes reps. And both of these guys are very much in the learning process, which makes it fun and exciting, and potentially from a trading perspective, volatile. So I think there's going to be some ups and downs today. If this is one-way traffic, I'll be somewhat surprised. But the fun kind of interesting angle on Rune, at least, is he's got him. These are very different players, and this is a little bit of a clash of styles. people like to compare Alcaraz to Nadal, probably because he's Spanish, I guess, and because some of his early success came on clay. And I think that's a little lazy. Alcaraz, to me, has a lot more of Federer's sort of natural, just, beautiful natural movement, natural ability, effortless power. He's just a very, very fluid player. Reminds me a lot of what we saw with Federer. Federer was my favorite player, so I have an affinity for Alcaraz, certainly. Rune, to me, is more of a Djokovic mold, not in terms of his skill set on the court, but in the fact that he is sort of a mental psychopath. He has a mental game that is just different. Yeah. It's different. And it sounds insane to say it, but Djokovic wins a lot of slams, a lot of high leverage matches in his head. And it is going to be fascinating to see if Rune can use a superior approach to this match to his advantage, when otherwise, he may not be as talented. He's certainly not as physically gifted as Alcaraz is, right? So he's going to have to use mental advantage in some way if he's going to stay in this match, if he's going to win this match. And kind of the I bet I'm taking a pre-match position here on Rune. I bet some plus 4.5 games at plus money. I think that's a perfectly fine pre-flop handicap angle. And I'm going to take, for trading purposes, I'm going to bet some Rune before we get started here. And
I'll set the scene a little bit. I sent you the YouTube link. I sent you the YouTube link. If you could push that out while I kind of set things up from a sport trade perspective. If you're watching this, you're a fan of the Whale Capper, you're not familiar with Sport Trade. We are a sports betting exchange in New Jersey. What you're seeing here is our main page once you've placed a bet. So Drew mentioned that he is on Rune. We've got him at plus 328 on the money line. So that is the equivalent to a 23% chance that he's going to win the match today. And what you're seeing here is what we call our money bar. So we sort of, instead of unit sizes, right, we use shares, right? So for every $23 you would bet, that constitutes one share. Now, to make it easier for an audience that probably has never heard of us before, I just put $100 on this. So this is our Sport Trade account. Now, full disclosure here, I can't use Sport Trade. I work here. So this is fake money, but it'll at least show you exactly what we're doing and how quickly you can kind of get in and out. So Drew is on Rune here at plus 328 to win the match today against Alcaraz. And I assume you're doing this because you're thinking, Drew, that Rune is going to come out, hold his own in the first game, maybe, first set, maybe, and then see if we can kind of flip things around and get Alcaraz at a lower price.
Exactly my approach. And I don't even know if I could say it better. My anticipation here is that Rune uses he lets the match he lets Alcaraz kind of play a little excited, a little nervous, and a little bit overly aggressive out of the gate here. We saw that with Alcaraz against Berrettini in the first set, in the round 4. And when Rune punched his ticket, he does his post-match, interview and press, and I went back and listened to it, and I kind of got goosebumps because it was like, hey, you get to face Alcaraz next round. He was like, yes, I was hoping for this, and like full on, like
that's interesting, right? Because Alcaraz said after one of his wins that he is solely focused on playing Djokovic.
Yeah, of course.
So there was a discussion of like, well, where is his focus at? So it's interesting that one is focused on somebody who you're not even going to see till the final. The other one is focused on this match. Yeah. So that has to play a part in your handicapping, maybe a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what we've seen from Alcaraz on grass this season has been good, not great. He still has a long way to go to fine tune his game on grass. But I would tell you that he is aggressive almost to a fault. He is almost always looking for his way out of a point, almost always looking for his way out of a game, set, match, right? Whereas Rune is a lot more willing to absorb some of the aggression and kind of redirect it in a way that gives him an advantage in the early going, I think. So basically, Alcaraz being a little bit hyped up and a little bit too aggressive early is my expectation here. I'm expecting we'll see a little bit of an uptick in his unforced error count, and Rune a little bit more cool, calm, relaxed, and absorbing. And if that's the case, then I think Rune almost certainly is live, closer to 50-50 for the first set than the market would currently make. 23% chance to win is a little too low by my numbers for what it's worth.
Okay, so we're grabbing some good value. No, I'm sorry, you have him where?
My margin between these two players is a lot more narrow. My fair price would be closer to 32%. So he's still unlikely to win the match. So we're going to have to get out of this some way at some point, which is fine. But again, I think a little plus the games, and then a little bit of opportunity to try to capitalize on an early push from Rune. That is sort of the way here. The other kind of reason to, I guess in general, tennis trading, if I'm looking at trading a match in tennis, I'm almost certainly only going to pick the matches where I see value on the underdog going in.
Right.
It is there. I'm sure there is a way to come about this from the opposite approach and say, I'm going to trade out of a favorite position, but that's not really ever been my style. And I cannot kind of stomach the idea of, a match being closer than expected out of the gate and you lose equity immediately on a favorite, because at that point you just are kind of stuck doubling down at a relatively expensive price. And so I think there's certainly if Alcaraz comes out and he's playing the level we saw where to the finish of that Berrettini match where he was absolutely on fire, then we're in trouble.
Well, we've got the match is just moments away from starting here. We have about 100 people watching right now, which is great. Cool. Make sure you're commenting, asking some questions and stuff like that. We have a couple as we get going. J-Rod is asking if rain is inbound. I haven't checked the AccuWeather forecast, but obviously that would alter things. I did see earlier they closed the roof. I don't know if it was in this stadium or the other one.
Yeah, I would expect that if they are, if rain is coming, that they're going to close the roof before they start the match. That's kind of what they've been doing.
Yeah.
But I don't have the sound up, so I can't confirm one way or the other if the roof is closed yet.
I'm not sure. But we have another one asking if Rune has poor cardio.
So he does.
Okay.
It's not necessarily, I wouldn't say he has poor cardio, but he lacks, he lacks the endurance that comes with numerous reps at the best of 5 level, which is another reason that I'm ready to for sure. If he's doing well early, we are for sure pulling the ripcord because this goes to a 5th set. All of a sudden, the win equity is going to flip Alcaraz pretty aggressively because of the cardio questions specifically.
Yeah, Jeffrey's saying fitness. Yeah, we talked about that in our other match we watched too. Some people may not know this. Wimbledon is 5 sets, right? Like not every tennis match or tournament is 5 sets. So fitness is absolutely a part of it. 15-15 for those just watching this. Obviously, this is some second screen viewing between Ruse and Alcaraz. So if you've got us up on your laptop or your phone or anything like that, chances are you're probably watching this happen.
Yeah. So, the fitness questions is very much on my mind, which again is another kind of reason. I only would take a pre-match money line position on Rune if I was intending to trade out of it. I'll be completely honest. I think a much better approach to take the game handicap than the money line, just because again, we're talking even my number, 32% chance he wins this. This is going to be tough. this is not a likely outcome here one way or the other. So,
but the thing you can do, Drew, obviously is if you're building volume on an exchange like ours, right? Not to sound too much like a commercial, but if there is that much of a discrepancy between your number and our number, if you build enough volume, you could still make a decent amount of money if they even just get to your number. Right?
That's very true. That's a really good point.
Yeah,
that's
a really good point. Tons of people on our exchange do. They even do it for pregame CLV, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of people make a lot of money on Sport Trade doing that too. We have a comment from Jedi Modi that I'm not going to put up here, but shout out to Jedi Modi, one of our favorites in Colorado, who we'll be seeing soon. We're going to launch in Colorado pretty soon. So we'll be seeing a lot of Jedi Modi, and he's going to be pissed. I'm not going to put that up on the screen, but there you have it. When we just to go back to the fitness level, when you're handicapping, I mean, how is it just a feel thing? Are you watching him? Is it an injury thing? Like, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into handicapping fitness and how that plays into a 5-set match.
Sure. The telltale signs for Rune are he starts to kind of lumber, right? Okay. Like you can see,
I can relate.
His body gets tight the further he goes into the match. Like he'll still produce incredible quality tennis, like stuff that'll make your eyes pop, but he's making it look quite hard. And there is a very specific incident in the last month at the French Open where he played a much longer set than he had to. Comes through in 5. It was 5-hour match, I feel like, and he was just absolutely brutalized physically by the end of that. And he came into his following match against Casper Ruud 2 days later as a small underdog and could barely put up a fight. So it's there's definitely the idea of because even for a player like Alcaraz, who's relatively young, like it takes many reps to really get your body up to the point where you can go the distance. The cleanest example of this is actually Novak Djokovic. Many people forget this, but throughout the entire early portion of his career, he was a guy that could not get to the end of matches and lacked the match endurance. And now he's the Terminator. So it's obviously kind of flipped on its head. But it is it's definitely a learned skill, in my opinion, to be able to go the distance in best of 5.
Right now, advantage Alcaraz in the first set here. Just won it. So 1-0 Alcaraz. So that's going to drop our price. Only $2.17 so far. So we're hanging in there. Is there a point, Drew, you get to if this is just starting to get steamrolled, where because you have the ability to trade out for like 97% of the equity of your bet here, you would do that just to save some scratch?
It would have to be 2-0.
Okay.
Alcaraz for me to pull the ripcord, I think. The general disposition of a lot of tennis matches when you're at this stage and the margins are this narrow between players is trade sets early.
Yeah.
Let's put, because as we're speaking, there's another match going on, the other semifinal or the other quarterfinal, where Chris Eubanks is playing Medvedev. And if you watch that first set, it was one-way traffic Medvedev. He only went 6-4, but it really didn't look like there was much of a hope that Eubanks was going to get in this thing. But in the second set, Medvedev throttled down and he's preserving his energy. He let Eubanks do most of the work. And I think realistically, that's now opened the door for Eubanks to really potentially do the impossible here. He's looking pretty darn good. But yeah, it's very much a strategic endeavor at the slam level. And
it looks like Eubanks just broke a serve from Medvedev to take the first game. Yeah.
So I think
6-4, 6-1, now 1-0 Eubanks in the third set.
Yeah, to me at least, a 2-0 lead. If you have the dog and you are facing a 2-0 deficit, it's game over. And you might as well take what you can get, but you're probably not going to get much. You're probably looking at 5%, maybe 3%.
So I'm curious.
Probability at that
sorry, Drew. I'm curious for your thoughts on something. So I'm going to toggle over to our futures right now and pull up our futures in Wimbledon. So we've got Djokovic here. I almost said Jokovic, combining my Serbs.
Serbian, yes.
Yeah, Serbian love. Djokovic He actually just moved. We have him at minus 170 to win the entire tournament. He was minus 162 earlier today. I think the rest of the betting world had him at least minus 200. Does that seem like it's just too low? Is that, not to say it's a mistake by the market maker, because they help sign my checks, but do you think that is too low?
It is. It's a funny number because it's going to move. Or it's not going to move, but it's too low. It's too low conditional on this match that we're watching now being competitive, right? There are, I guess, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it and I have to say it out loud, it is too low. He's going to be minus 200 or higher in the final, maybe minus 300, even against, he'll be minus 300, in my opinion, against Alcaraz, if that's the final. And if it's anyone besides Alcaraz, he's going to be minus 1,000.
Wow.
I mean, not against Medvedev, I guess. He'll probably be like minus 500 or something against, if it's Medvedev. If it's Eubanks, if it's Rune, it's going to be a bigger number. The matchup he drew against Sinner in the semifinals is favorable for Djokovic for lots of reasons. He, to a degree, solved Sinner's game, in my opinion, in last year's quarterfinals on grass in Wimbledon.
So don't look now. Eubanks just won another,
and clean hold.
I snuck in a Eubanks bet before we started here, and I got him at an average cost of $15.50. That's plus 534 in American odds. I have more than doubled my money on that bet. Is this a good time to trade out right now, or do you think he's rolling?
Well, he just held serve cleanly. Medvedev didn't even take a point on his serve. Tactically, he looks like he is playing a very, very strong game right now. I would trade out, though, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, I haven't loved Medvedev's tactics on grass all season so far. He hasn't really played anyone good to this point in the tournament. So it's tough to say that he's solving anything about grass tennis. But he is also going to be live to break on almost every service game from Eubanks from here in. And if he breaks back in this third set, then you're in trouble with that position. So I would say the right time to sell is probably if he comes through with a clean hold here. But I think good job on the position you took there.
Oh, thank you. And it's my turn to take a sip of tea after that. So 22.54 is what we're up. So we're going to go with you. So we just doubled our money. So our P&L there. There you go. And now they're asking me if I enjoy the app. I'm going to go ahead and say
yes.
Yes, sure am. So our P&L there plus 22.84, and we'll go back to Rune. We actually have a question. Go ahead. We'll get to the question.
I was going to say two quick final thoughts on your question about Djokovic being too low at minus 170. He probably, in my opinion, he comes through a little bit more cleanly to get to the final than whoever his opponent is going to be. Right. This match between Alcaraz and Rune looks like it's going to. I think it's going to be difficult, physical, long. Alcaraz versus Medvedev or even Eubanks is going to be difficult, physical, long. And Djokovic gets an extra day rest and plays an easier semifinal potentially. So all told, I think he's going to be in less wear and tear and decent. He's going to be a decent number. He's going to be a big number in the final, in my opinion.
I did also buy Djokovic the other day to win Wimbledon at minus 163. So now that the buy price is at 62.5 and the sell is at 60.5, I've gone up $2.50. So hopefully it at least gets to the final. We can see some profit there. Okay, here's our question here from Johan L. Mr. Whale. Still thinking we'll get a good chance to see Rune in the U.S. Open, or will a win here against Carlos shorten his price too far?
So full disclosure, already holding a 20-1 Rune to win the U.S. Open.
There you go.
But I don't feel super about it right now. The price, the second part is easier. If he beats Alcaraz here, he's going to go into the U.S. Open like 8-1 or something, and that's too short. He was something like 8-1 for the French Open, which was like ridiculously short. I cannot explain what was going on there with that pricing. I mean, he had a fine grass season, but a clay season, but it wasn't so good that he should have been that short. The issue is much more about the fitness side of things for me. He's played a lot of tennis this year already, and he's going to wear down at some point. And I would be more excited, as contradictory as this sounds, I would be more excited about Rune's chances at the U.S. Open if he had bombed out in round 1 here. And just gotten to kind of play just to preserve himself, to get geared up for the hard court swing, and to be kind of peaking at that point. The thing about the U.S. Open is it's usually the coming out party for the younger players. And the reason that is because they've usually played less tennis to that point in the calendar season than the guys with the pedigree, right? Like so many U.S. Opens, Rafa Nadal's limping in, Djokovic is on fumes, because they've played 50 hours more tennis than the rest of the field, and the heat and the humidity in New York gets the better of them and they flame out, and that opens the door for the players like Medvedev, who broke through at the US Open, and Dominic Thiem and Alcaraz last year, who didn't even have to go through Djokovic because he wasn't there. And so the US Open has become, on the men's side, a little bit of a debutante type of situation. Jimmy Butler here to watch some Alcaraz. He's not watching Eubanks, huh? He went for center court. He wants to see the future of tennis. He's not there to support the Americans.
Well, maybe he thought the same thing you thought. Maybe he was like, well, Eubanks is, what's the point? I might as well go see the better match.
Eubanks is still holding his own. He's doing well.
Alcaraz, meanwhile, won the last game.
Yeah, clean hold.
So 2-1, but because Rune started so low at just 23%, he's up. We're up right now, up $4.35.
He's creeping.
He is creeping. To quote Dave Chappelle, he's creeping. Yeah.
Okay. The kind of closure on Rune US Open thought real quick. Yeah. So if he's gassed, that's a problem. But even more so is sort of the Djokovic issue. Djokovic skipped Indian Wells in Miami. He didn't play a big chunk of the clay season. So he is like wicked fresh right now, which is scary for everyone. He usually struggles I would say that the US Open is the 4th of 4 in terms of his quality of slams. That's kind of the 1 week slam he has at this point. But coming in fresh is going to be huge for him there. So yeah, he scares me at the US Open for sure.
Jimmy Butler getting a lot of love.
Yeah.
A lot of screen time for Jimmy Butler. I think a lot of people forget that, maybe because there was no Wimbledon, the COVID year. Djokovic has won the last 4 Wimbledons, and you skip a year. So he's got an opportunity to win his 5th Wimbledon played in a row. I think no one's overlooking him, obviously, but I think a lot of people have sort of forgotten that. And I think it would be the longest streak since both Federer and Sampras.
Yeah. He hasn't lost here since 2017.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. What were you doing in 2017?
In 2017.
6 years ago? 6 years ago was the last time he lost here.
6 years ago? Let's see. I was probably covering Kentucky stuff, Louisville, Kentucky related items in the middle of July when there's no collegiate sports and no pro sports at all. Not a ton. Getting yelled at by Bobby Petrino probably for shooting stuff he wanted to shoot. That's actually a really funny story. We went very, very viral and was almost had our credentials pulled by the University of Louisville. In 2017, Bobby Petrino would not allow anyone to shoot their spring game, despite the fact that they play in a 70,000 person stadium and anybody with an iPad can just go like that and shoot all the plays and put them up on YouTube. None of the local media was allowed to shoot any of it. Alabama's is on SEC Network, but I guess it's fine for Nick Saban, but not Bobby Petrino. So instead, we have hours long of shows we have to fill. So instead of doing that, I just wrote every highlight in stick figures with Lamar Jackson, and that's what we ran. And by the time I got back to my desk, the SID for Louisville was threatening to remove our credentials. How could you do this to us? This, that, and the other. Long story short, Bobby Petrino and me are not in Louisville anymore. So there you go. That was the conclusion.
How about that? I got to spend a decent amount of time in Louisville this year covering the Kentucky Derby, and
I love it.
Cruised around the athletic complex there doing some morning jogs. It was beautiful. My goodness gracious, they did a great job.
Seeing you on this. Yes, I remember seeing you on the coverage. Yeah, Churchill is an interesting place. One of my favorite places on earth, though. There's nothing like a Kentucky Derby. If you're watching this and you've never gone, I had the chance to be on the track for 4 of them. It is
very cool.
Like one of the coolest things ever. And I was there when Justified won a Triple Crown. So very cool.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was an incredible year.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know. We're going to see a horse like that again for a while.
Yeah. I remember I was there when Nyquist won, a Doug O'Neill horse, and they brought, named after a defenseman of the same last name. And I remember they brought the Stanley Cup there at like 4 a.m. So one of the only great things about being on the backside at Churchill Downs at 4 a.m. is you get to hobnob with the Stanley Cup. So there you go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Alcaraz is doing a nice job of mixing up his tactics here. He definitely was well coached coming into this match, and he does not look like he's carrying the weight of expectation or the pressure of the moment to this point in the match. So not to say that we need to get out of this position anytime soon, but this is going to come down to kind of execution on the high leverage points. And so far we've had one real high leverage point, and Alcaraz was able to navigate that exquisitely. So it's going to be an interesting first set here. Kind of a unique kind of wrinkle here. These guys were both born in the same year, and usually that means they play each other a dozen times as juniors.
Right.
But for whatever reason, these guys, they were friends. They knew each other. They practiced together, but they never went head to head as juniors somehow.
That's fascinating.
And we don't, it is weird because almost always like players of the same generation, like Andy Murray and Juan Martín Del Potro famously played at like the Orange Bowl as like 12-year-olds, and like there's like, film of it, and you're like, holy cow in the world, this is like crazy cool. But for whatever reason, Rune and Alcaraz never went head to head as juniors, or at least not that I could find. Maybe somebody knows better. Maybe they played in something that's just not on the internet, or like not a high profile juniors match, whatever. But they played one time only once as professionals. And it was in Paris last year where Rune really broke out. He was he had a good season last year, but definitely not like I'm going to be future world #1 type of season. And then he got to Paris at the end of the year where they're playing indoor hard court, and he beat Alcaraz in a weird match where Alcaraz retired. But he beat him. He was the better player, I thought, that day, and then went on to beat Djokovic to win the title. And that was kind of his coming out party. But you didn't really glean a ton from the match where you could say, strategically what will work one way or the other. Rune saved his 2 break chances. He only converted on 1 of his 4. So he didn't necessarily clearly execute the high leverage stuff better. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty instructive match so far, and I like how Rune is holding his own, but I feel like we got a marathon on our hands here.
So the original intent was to live bet this match, but this Eubanks Medvedev battle is seeing Eubanks not only stick with it, but to be taking control of it. We've got a comment here from Kellen saying, "I have Medvedev. Is it time to buy out?"
Okay, so let's break down what's going on here in the third set a little bit.
I'll pull up the pricing for that.
Looking at some of the statistics. So it's 3-4. Eubanks is serving up a break. It is 1-1 in the match. Any given point is probably any point on Eubanks' serve is probably 65-35 Eubanks to win. Any point on Medvedev's serve is probably 75-25 Medvedev to win. I think I said that right. 65-35 Eubanks on serve, 75-25 Medvedev on serve.
Sure.
What we're seeing from the third set so far, Medvedev's serving well. He's getting 80% of his first serves in. He's got 5 aces, only 1 double fault. So he's taking chances and they're working, which is a good sign for him, bouncing back in this match. Eubanks is getting an impossible 93% of his first serves in. Wow. That looks likely that's got to regress.
And
that's
just too. You had said 70% is like really good.
Yeah, well, yeah, and honestly, he's only gotten 3 aces, no double faults, so he's probably not taking enough chances. Which means there's going to be a service game where he lets Medvedev in, I think, before this set is over. So I would sit on a Medvedev position right now, just kind of seeing the fact that just trying to guess, I guess, that Eubanks is not being aggressive enough with his serve, and that's going to let Medvedev in the door. Because Medvedev has the same skill set. If you didn't already know this, Medvedev has the same skill set as Djokovic. He's Djokovic light. Djokovic is obviously a lot better in almost every aspect, but they both kind of do the same thing where they return the impossible. Like, you'll be playing a rally and you think you hit the winner and then it comes back and your player's just like sitting there stunned. How did this happen? And so that definitely kind of helps him be more effective on the return. But boy, oh boy, is he having a tough time getting return points in this set for whatever reason. He's only won 2 of 15 to this point. Eubanks is absolutely cruising on serve. That one hiccup.
Yeah, sorry. So I asked Kellen in the comments, if you're not on Sports Trade, what's your cash out offer? He said, unfortunately, I'm a New Jersey resident, but I'm seeing around minus 110 aside.
Wow.
Yikes.
That's 2-1 is definitely not enough for me to say that Eubanks should be minus money. There's a gap. There's a pretty sizable gap between these players. I don't want to diminish at all Eubanks' run here. It's freaking awesome. But beating Cam Norrie doesn't move the needle for me. Beating Tsitsipas doesn't really move the needle for me. I don't know. It's tough for me to think that he's going to be able to hang on to this for another, for a deciding set. And I think
now up 40 love, or did he close that one out to get to 5-3? It looks like there's some consternation happening. But right now, if you were to sell him at 45.5, we got it at 15.5. So you've tripled your money if you bought a pregame or pre-match position on him. Pretty cool. I'll flip back over here to our main event here, and Rune still holding serve here. At least on Sports Trade, still up $4.35. I just wonder how long that's going to last.
Well, the longer he hangs in the set, if he takes this to a tiebreak, it's a coin flip who wins that tiebreak, and if he wins the tiebreak, then all of a sudden his price probably goes to 40%. Okay. That would be kind of my guess, and at that point,
that's a nice jump.
Yeah, I think at that point we would ripcord, job well done. And actually, at that point, I'm starting to sweat my my plus 4.5 a little bit. One of the funny quirks of betting handicaps in tennis is you tend to get nervous when you have the underdog in a tiebreak, because if they pull it off, they've only gained 1 game on their opponent, right? And then kind of going back to the original concept in best of 5. If they then choose, I'm going to preserve energy in set 2, they could lose 6-1, right. And you're like, oh, my underdog did a great job. He won the first set. And then he is now down 4 games after 2, that type of situation playing out, I've lost count. And so a lot of times I'll have a dog in the tiebreak and be rooting against him. But we'll see what happens here.
So in the interest of just keeping the good times rolling here, we're in a commercial break of the Alcaraz matchup. Eubanks here 1 point away from taking, and he does it. So now at 5-3 in the third set, 5 games to 3 in the third set. For the sake of we're just having a good time here, I'm going to hop back in on Eubanks. 47.5, which is the equivalent of plus 108. Let's see. Again, this is price market change.
I like this. I like this strategy that you're doing for a couple reasons.
Okay, hit me with it.
Eubanks has a lot of incentive to leave nothing on the court in this game. If he can close out this set with a break, then he gets to serve first in the fourth set, which hugely improves his chances of winning this match. Right. So if he's metering his effort, you let the throttle out now. And if you have a couple of wrinkles, couple of ways you're attacking your opponent that you're saving for the high leverage stuff, you let it out now. Oof, awful double fault from Rune. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh, yuck.
Wait, did he just go long again? I think we're seeing it around the same time. Okay. He did. Ruled out. Wow. So 30 love here for Eubanks.
Not good.
We have a question from Johan again. Is Ellen Sabalenka up on Sporttrade? And if so, does Drew have an opinion there? You just saw me navigate to it. It's not up yet. It will be pretty soon, I imagine. But do you have any thoughts there, Drew?
My expectation is you're going to get Sabalenka around minus 150 in that match. Ons plus 130, 135. I want Ons to win pretty badly. I think the entire world wants her to win pretty badly. That doesn't obviously matter as much for a handicap. But let me see if it's up here. I want to give you guys a good read on the price if we got it. It probably is open somewhere in the world, right? Oh, minus 175. Yikes. Okay. So the market was extremely impressed with Sabalenka today. Ons is plus 150. Ons minus 170. Yeah, I mean, my value says it's a coin flip. I think Ons can absolutely absorb the pace and kind of frustrate Sabalenka. I think Sabalenka, the collapse we saw in the semifinals against Mukova is still relevant. Going gets tough. Is she going to be able to avoid the double faults? And just in general, Sabalenka has not played a player like Ons who has just a real variety to her game. Can kind of hit you with different styles at different times in ways that really can surprise you. So I would lean Ons, but pretty nervous about that one because Sabalenka, and I didn't put as close an eye on that match because I was watching the Ons match at the same time, but the statistics she put up in that one were eye-popping. So she's playing some pretty darn good tennis right now.
What are some of the stats that you look at? We talked before and you said, unforced errors is a really big one to sort of pinpoint exactly if somebody is on or just really going through it, struggling, having an off day. What are some of the things you look at?
Yeah, the first thing I flip to when I flip open match stats is winners unforced error ratio. That gives you a sense of whose match the racket was on and how effective that person was with whatever their tactics were. Anything over a 1-to-1 ratio, you had a great match. If you're at 2-to-1, now you're in like rarefied air, right? Like if we look at the Alcaraz Rune match so far, they're both flat, right? Alcaraz 5-5, Rune 6-7. Like, both guys are playing well. Neither guy is completely, gacking it, and neither guy is really kind of at, in a super high level. The Medvedev Eubanks one is wild because Medvedev has 30 winners and only 6 unforced errors.
Wow.
On the flip side, Eubanks 50 winners, 22 unforced errors. So the match is on Eubanks's racket, which is amazing.
He's up 15 love here and with an opportunity to win this set. Just faulted. We flip back over to Alcaraz Rune. We're now up 652. A couple points there for Alcaraz. We were up $10, so that shows you just how quickly the prices change.
Yeah.
But now we're sort of living in that little space there of $4 to $10. We're up. Again, we started so low at just 23%, which was plus 328. Just jumped up to $13. See, that's how fast it happens. It's gone now. You're up $5 and we're down $5, right? It's kind of like the stock market a little bit.
So one other thing about the Sabalenka match, like as you kind of just generally scan after I look at the winner unforced error ratio, where she was to the good, but it wasn't like super spectacular. I look at breaks points converted. She was 4 of 9 converted. The 9 part of that is interesting to me. Like, wow, she was able to get 9, develop 9 chances on break. Yeah, she only converted 4 of those. But then right after that, I flipped to looking at like, okay, how many games did she put her opponent under pressure? And it was 1, 2, 3. So it's 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of they only played 8 plus. They only played 18 games. So 4. Yeah, I guess her opponent. If you're creating break chances on almost 50% of your opponent's service games, then you're having a really good match. And then lastly, she was able to close extremely strongly. Like she had 12 points in a row at one point in the second set. She came down the home stretch absolutely on fire from 4-2 down to 6-4 wins. So she won the last 4 games. All in all, that's playing with confidence. That's impressively beating your opponent, and that's scary if you're an odds backer or an odds fan.
Eubanks now 1 point away here from winning the third set, 40-30 here, 5-4 in that game. Alcaraz just had a great backhander to end the set there too. But we flipped on over to the Eubanks bet I just made. We'll see there. We had somebody on Twitter, Drew, reach out and say that Alcaraz and Rune did play against each other in juniors, and when pressed for a time and or place, they have gone silent. So we're doing the journalistic heavy lift here for you guys.
Oh, well, thank you.
Asking the folks to prove it, and to this point, they haven't come through.
Let me see.
Eubanks closes it out. So 6-4, 6-1, 6-4 in favor of Eubanks going into the fourth set. And yet, just up 50 cents. But again, it started at 15.50, and now it's at 51 to buy, 48 to sell.
So in a very casual search, I couldn't find head-to-heads on any of the major juniors tracking websites, but they were doubles partners as juniors. Maybe that's what they meant.
Okay, maybe
they played together.
Afraid to go head-to-head?
Interesting. Well, they were too good of friends, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Summer camp bunk buddies. They just can't. They can't do it. You described it wasn't Medvedev, right? As a Djokovic light.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, it was Medvedev. Okay.
Yeah, that's Medvedev for sure.
I was thinking, like, who would I love to be compared to as like this person light throughout my career? Somebody who's I've never won anything, but I have very comparable skills, and I think my answer is like Matt Geiger. I'm like Matt Geiger light. That's my game. That's my basketball game. A 6 foot in shoes, Matt Geiger light.
I dig it. I would love to know when these guys played as juniors.
Yeah, Eric Farrington asking, "Are we in on Med yet?" He wants to buy low. He was trying to buy the dip.
Buy the dip. Yeah, he gets to serve first here.
Even split right now, 51-5, 51. So that's a minus 108, minus 106 market.
I would be pretty surprised if this doesn't go to a 5th set. But, there's certainly nothing in the last 2 games that would tell you that Medvedev has an angle, a way into Eubanks' serve. Eubanks won, let's see. He won 72% of his service points in set 2. That's about 7% over expectation. And Eubanks won 80% of his service points in set 3. So that's about 15% over expectation. Those numbers are going to likely regress. Because I think realistically he should be around 65%, considering their just overall statistical profile. Which again, like at some point, the first serve percentage for Eubanks is going to dip. We were talking, what was it, 93% at its high?
I think you said it was 90.
He finished the third set at 80%. Wow. So he had a little bit of a wobble late in the third set, and I think you could probably point to that last game where he it got to 30-30. That's probably where Eubanks was playing a couple of points on second serve, I would guess. But yeah, that's going to come down. So yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind getting in on Medvedev. Are you plus money on your position there?
I'm on Eubanks. Medvedev has moved to
yeah. No, I know. Are you positive on your Eubanks position?
Oh, let's see. We have not moved.
You're still it's still in the same spot.
Yep, still in the same spot. I mean, Medvedev came out and just scored a quick win.
He was
made short work of that.
No nonsense there. No funny business.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting into the business end of the Alcaraz Rune match. So at 4-4 is where the leverage really starts to tick up in a set. If you're not familiar with how the scoring works, if Alcaraz holds, then Rune is now serving to stay in the set, which is high leverage. If Alcaraz is broken, then Rune is serving for the match. And then we do that dance again if we get to 5-5. And then if it's 6-6, we go to the tiebreak, obviously. So basically, I would expect big time market volatility if either player had. Oh, wow. That was a gross unforced error by Alcaraz. Yuck. Yuck. He's gonna now.
Well, look at the price. Our price just jumped from $8 to $15.22 to $21.
Right. So if we have big time, if Rune gets to 30 love, or if Rune gets to 40-15 or 40 love, then you're going to see big time volatility, because that break now means huge swing and win probability for the set. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Rune's got his way in. Uh-oh.
Oh.
So there may be a little bit of in the back of his mind after that unforced error. I think that's possible. It was a pretty bad error. Medvedev, by the way, is making some progress in game one on Eubanks' serve.
Yeah, 30-15 on a Eubanks serve there.
Okay. So big high leverage point here. If it gets to 30-30, then we've gained nothing. If he gets to 40-15, then we get 2 break chances and we're in really, really decent shape.
So regardless.
Oh my goodness.
So it sounds like you're a couple seconds ahead of me, but still 30-15 here. So even so, I mean, we were up $30. So, I mean, regardless of what the number says up on the television screen, we're holding to see what happens in this set, right? If we get up, let's say Rune gets up 40-15, we're back up $30.
Yeah.
We're holding.
Yeah, I think we got to hold. Okay. We're going to have a couple of these cycles, I think. Sure. But if you are a more experienced trader, if you have a little bit more appetite for this, like, this is where you make your money in a tennis trading situation, right? Yeah. The volatility is just wild when you get to this part of the match, and I think you're not going to get caught out. I don't think, if you're taking both sides in and around the 25% price point. If you're grabbing +5 either way, I don't think you're going to get caught out. But I can absolutely see this as a strategy when you get to these high leverage spots. If you don't have an open position, you take the dog before the match. If they win a couple of points, you take the favorite, and you kind of continue to grab 5% on either side. I think is a pretty effective way to do things. Alcaraz pulled it together pretty effectively there. He came up with some big serves, and
132 miles an hour.
Yeah,
on one of those serves.
That's cooking. That is cooking.
Meanwhile, looks like Eubanks has tied up this game here, so we'll go to advantage. Advantages between him and Medvedev.
Yeah, big high leverage hold with the break chance there. Yeah. Medvedev's got another look.
So let me ask you about, you and Andy had talked on the Deep Dive podcast. Amazing podcast. If you're watching this from the Sport Trade perspective, obviously if you're coming from Drew's side, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're watching this from the Sport Trade perspective, check out the Deep Dive podcast. It makes us blush here in Camden. But Andy had bet on the U.S. Open on Sport Trade, and what turned into a paid ad turned into like a 15-minute discussion, which was amazing, and it was great. And something I thought was really funny was he was saying, you actively have to manage your positions on this as we're in a commercial break. That's why I'm bringing this up. And you were like, I'm not sure I have the appetite for something like that. But now that you've seen it, do you still feel the same way?
I should have qualified a little bit better. I don't have the appetite for that in golf.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And and if you know me, the cleanest way I can say it, I don't need more ways to lose money on golf.
Fair enough.
I've got plenty.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, I can tell you without a lot of experience on the app itself where the high leverage moments are and the high leverage games are in tennis. Like right now, as we're in a break, Rune serving to stay in this set is a bad spot to be, because if he gets broken for 6-4, Alcaraz is back on serve first in the second set, and then all of a sudden this match can get away from him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So almost in the blind, I think you can probably trade your way out of trade your way into, again, some of the volatility by taking an Alcaraz position pre-game and then finding either side as this is fought out. Now, if Alcaraz is basically willing, sometimes you can, if you have eyes on the match, you can get the sense that a player is willing to ride it into the tiebreak, right? I've seen that for sure. Like guys like, we'll just take this to a tiebreak. That's fine. And in those instances, they don't put up a ton of effort to try to get the break. And like this is pretty careless. That first point was pretty lackluster in terms of effort from Alcaraz. So he seems content to not really try to get this done now. And he may have a mindset of, I'm not going to waste my bullets here. I need to be fresher and more physically prepared for the tiebreak if we get there. Oh wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What a volley. Wow. A little smile there from Rune.
Yep.
That was special. Between the legs.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, again, coming from this as a complete tennis betting novice, that the fitness and making sure that you have something left in the tank 45 minutes from now would supersede the opportunity from Alcaraz here to take the first set.
I would think so, yeah, and that makes sense. The specter of what happened to him against Djokovic in the French Open is probably playing a little bit into his tactical approach here too. The fact that he went too hard too early in that match, he redlined too early, is probably kind of in his mind, in his camp's mind. If you're inclined to let a match get to, if you're in his position where you're serving first, you're ahead as you get to as the set is coming to its closure, a lot of times it's a matter of, okay, I'm ahead, I'll let him make an error, I'll let him let me into a service game, and if that happens, then I'll deploy some of my my high leverage strategy. And if Rune makes an error here and it goes to 40-40, maybe we see that. That could, that would make sense to me. But on the other hand, you don't want to leave yourself exposed, ultimately not win the game, and then in doing so, spoil your opportunity to win the tiebreak here. So he's playing a little bit more conservatively than he usually does.
Wow.
Big error there from big unforced error there from Rune.
A lot of side to side from Alcaraz there.
Rune really did not need to. I don't even know what he was doing there. That was just a bad.
Go to the backhand or just in general?
Yeah, just I didn't understand the tactical approach on that point at all. seems like Alcaraz lulled him into sleep a little bit, which is interesting. But yeah, so kind of full closure on your golf commentary. I can tell you exactly when the high leverage, high volatility is coming in tennis. Oh, nice job. Wow, nice misdirection. Nice misdirection. But in golf, I assume it's happening on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how to capitalize on it.
But you know what we see all the time, and you know, I'll just for shits and giggles, I'll go to our Scottish Open market now.
Sure.
You know, oftentimes you'll see people kind of scroll through our markets here. And again, you can see the American odds equivalent down there as well. Best odds you'll find. You know, a lot of times we'll have somebody scroll down and say, like Ludwig Aberg was a really the last 2 weeks has been really good, and he's at plus 6,900. So we've seen a lot is people jump on that at $1.40 per share. That guy goes out and shoots 4, 6, 8 under, and then they just flip them, and then they reallocate that money on Scheffler, something like that. We see that over and over again. So they're not even getting to those high leverage moments. They're basically just hoping to gain a little bit and then flip it to somebody who will see those high leverage moments. Wow, another great point there.
Yeah, that was a beauty.
Wow,
that was a beauty.
This game has been unbelievable. The last couple of volleys here. Meanwhile, we haven't updated you on Eubanks and Medvedev. I'm sure you're watching if you're watching this, but 2-1 in the fourth set with Medvedev and Eubanks. 15 love in favor of Medvedev here, who looks like Eubanks is serving. And I don't think we have an update on. Oh yeah, we're down $9 on my attempt to get back in on Eubanks.
That's okay, man. You're in a tenuous spot serving second now in the fourth set because any break, and Eubanks is again kind of in the situation where his best chance to win the match is to pack it up for the fourth, right? Yeah. like if he you know, because his opponent is 2-1 up, a whole a break here 3-1, and then a consolidation of 4-1 makes things really, really, really tough to come back from. Oh, Rune is doing a little damage.
So I know we said, Drew, that we would take it through the first set. This has been amazing.
Yeah, this is quite cool. Okay, I mean,
Rune now has returned 40. Was up to $40 there. 32.61. Now again, this is on a $100 bet.
Let's we gotta start thinking what we're gonna do if he breaks a little bit here, because we're not grabbing the volatility either way. We're just letting it accrue as we are trying to see if he can win this set. We probably should just be playing the volatility because I got the feeling this is going to a tiebreak. But the first serve percentage for both players is way down. Neither guy is serving well. We're looking at 50% for Rune, 56% for Alcaraz.
Wow, low.
That's not very good.
As I've learned, very low.
It's not very good.
Not great.
Not great.
Confidently say now, not great.
Not great. No, again, 11 unforced errors, 11 winners for both players. So we are talking about a dead even match. Not bad to have, plus 300 or whatever we got when it's a dead even match like this. But no clear advantage so far. Alcaraz has been able to lift his game a bit when he's been asked. Second time in a row he's gone 0-30 to 30-30.
Well, if you have any more questions for Drew, and unlikely for me, hop into the comments and we'll tackle them here. A lot of people hanging out and watching, so we appreciate it. And again, if you're in Jersey, download Sport Trade, get some great prices, some great in play. And if you're in Colorado, we'll be there soon. So there you go. That's like my top of the hour, like at a radio station. Here's your broadcast signal.
So here's some positive spin for you on your Eubanks spot. Twice now, Medvedev has gotten deep into his service and Eubanks has found his way out. Some people will look at that as the tide is turning. But there is also a reasonable way to look at that as Eubanks is forcing him to expend more than he would want to. Right. And you can see a scenario here. If Eubanks can hold on for dear life and get this to a tiebreak, he will be the fresher of the two at that point. Does that make sense? Right?
Big old spike there from our guy Eubanks. America's favorite son.
The Yellow Jacket legend.
Yeah, of course. Older than I think people would realize. I think he's 27. I'm sure this weekend's going to be like the first time first time a lot of people have ever heard of him.
Eubanks, yeah.
He
was a player that was always really fun to bet on in the Atlanta tournament because he always got a wild card because he's obviously, he's a big deal in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I was always very hopeful and excited for him to kind of truly break out. Of course, people probably already know this. Won his first ever career, tour title in Mallorca last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess now. Right on the eve of Wimbledon. And a lot of times when a player kind of breaks through for the first time at one of those tournaments that doesn't have a lot of the big name players who are resting up for the slam, it's a kind of pat yourself on the back, job well done.
Sure.
Like now let's just go to Wimbledon and go pick up that big check and we'll move on. Right. Or, go to Newport and get ready to win that one, get another one. And Eubanks, to his credit, did not play that way. He went directly to, Wimbledon from Mallorca and, has acquitted himself extremely well. He's got the support of a lot of U.S. tennis is kind of in his box, in his, helping him, kind of strategically, which is awesome. And yeah, it's been a really cool run. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see him back this up at the U.S. Open, where he's going to have incredible crowd support. So one thing worth kind of noting, there was an extended break after 6-5 for Alcaraz, right?
Yeah.
That was a big one. And that happens in the first set after 11 games. There's a dedicated break there. I've lost count the number of times that the underdog in that moment gets in their own head and or gets tight and or loses a little bit of rhythm on their serve.
Yeah,
and then
just right there with a
bad miss. And so seeing him stumble a bit coming out of that extended timeout, not great. Not great. Alcaraz is up 30-15 now. We'll see if he takes an approach that's a little more proactive, a little more aggressive, instead of what we saw from him in the last return game. That was, he's a bad miss. Yeah. A sign of a player being more aggressive is if, when you see their ball returned and it lands in the, in the service boxes, right? That is not an aggressive return. That is a safe return, right? If you see a player going for depth, they're deep along the baseline, or particularly for the corners, that's kind of telling you that they're trying to be a little bit more aggressive. They're taking a more risky approach to their return. Usually it's a strategic reason. Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Rune with amazing court coverage.
Wow.
Reminiscent of when
looking pretty fit. Looking pretty fit. I mean, it's early, but looking
well, that's
pretty,
the thing is that
pretty fit.
Yeah, when he's fresh, he's fast. And I don't know if you saw the Rune Alejandro Davidovich Fokina tiebreak.
I don't think
that was the best match of the tournament so far, and went to a 5th set tiebreak, and Rune was down 5-8. They played at 10, and so presumably like he's got long odds at that point to come back from 5-8. Davidovich Fokina only had to win 2 more games, 2 more points. I mean,
Eubanks has tied it up now, three games.
Yeah, he's Medvedev, for whatever reason, took his foot off the gas on the return. I think he's starting to see the light that he's going to need to win this fourth set in a tiebreak potentially, or wait for Eubanks to give him a way in. But yeah, the Davidovich-Fokina at 8-8 went for an underarm serve, which is a wonderful tactic if you're playing an opponent who does not move well. Or, you know, in general is like maybe like a Medvedev who stands a mile behind the baseline. An underarm serve is great. Catch him by surprise. They're not going to make it there in time. But Rune is, you know, he's quick twitch. He's young. He's fast. And he sniffed it out and got there easily and put away the winner to go up 9-8, give himself a match point, and then took the match point. So it's kind of one of the more fatal tactical errors we've seen in tennis all year. And Rune was the beneficiary of it. So, yeah, if you liked volatility and leverage during those last 4 games, you're going to love it during the tiebreak.
Yeah. Yeah, 6-6 here in the first set.
Tiebreak is played best of 7, must win by 2.
There you go. Okay. Thank you. I was going to say
first two 7 must win by 2 points.
Okay. I think we've gotten this question like an hour ago, but just want to bring it back around from Sam. Does the winner of All and Sabalenka win the final on the women's side?
I think so, yes. You can't entirely write off Marketa Vondrousova. She's playing at a level that I think has impressed a lot of us, but she came through a quarter that was pretty soft. And so if she gets there, would it surprise, you know, if she ultimately wins, would it surprise any of us? No. She's a former Slam finalist at the French Open, but couldn't get it across the finish line. Forget who she lost to. Simona Halep, maybe? I don't remember. But she made it to a Slam final at one point. And Ash Barty? I don't know. I can't remember who she lost to, but she's been there before, which matters. I don't think Svitolina has a realistic chance to win. And so, yeah, effectively, it's your de facto final. And yeah, I mean,
oh man,
beautiful tennis here.
Yeah, I mean, just the touch from Alcaraz is incredible.
So he's got what they call in the biz a mini break.
Okay. So
you break your opponent's serve on a given point in the tiebreak. It's a mini break. That was a hell of a way to do it. Just a perfectly executed cross court winner.
Yeah. Around I mean, we mentioned at the top, both these guys are 20. Around like what age, when you're handicapping, right? And you know people are coming up through juniors or whatever and have an opportunity to be real factors in tournaments from a really young age. At what point do you start paying attention to somebody coming up?
The straightforward answer is either the tail end of the season at the Masters level or the very beginning of the season at the Masters level. If you can make noise in Paris, which is what Rune's coming out was, or Indian Wells, which is where Alcaraz's coming out was last year, in my opinion, then you know you're playing high leverage, you're playing the best of the best. And if you're winning out on that stage, you know, at a young age, then you kind of get tabbed as a guy. Like the former next gen before these guys included a player in Sasha Zverev, who a lot of tennis handicappers would know. And his coming out was in Indian Wells. He played against Rafa Nadal, and Rafa Nadal was just dynamite. And played better than him in that match, and bottled a volley at the net and lost. But you came out of that match thinking, okay, this is a guy that's going to be a factor now. And so I would say it has to be at the highest level, and it has to be against. Yeah, I mean, it has to be against elite competition. You can't just be beating up players on the Challenger and get respect from a lot of the handicapping community if you're in the 20s. You got to do it at the in a Masters, in my opinion.
A great comment here from Vegas Vice saying, "Thanks for doing this, Drew. Great to get your in-game thoughts. Very instructive." We completely agree. I thank you too. I'm learning a ton in the last hour, 15 minutes.
Tunisian women's tennis back.
I was going to put that one up right after that comment. I was going to warm you up with that one, but the question remains.
It never left. No, dude, I could go on and ons and ons and ons and ons. Ons Jabeur, probably the easiest player on tour to cheer for. She's just a golden soul. And the Netflix series Breakpoint covers sort of the back end of that was problematic from Rune. Oh god. He gets the mini break back and then double faults the mini break to Alcaraz is not good. But yeah, Ons Jabeur, clearly comes through as the first African participant in a Grand Slam final. On the women's side, there was probably some South African men back in the day, but first African woman to come through to a Grand Slam final in Wimbledon last year. And the Breakpoint series covered like the behind the scenes as she won Madrid, which was a Masters, is kind of our coming out party, and then carried that on and obviously made it to the finals of Wimbledon. And the entire background is just amazing. She's got a great team. Husband is her physio. They have a great relationship. She's all of the media she ever does just shines through like just joy and happiness and, a love for the sport and, well loved by the other players. It's great to see her succeed and be be at this level again.
Big moment here. Alcaraz just missed. Before we get to the real nuts and bolts here of this one, just stumbled in this and managed to sneak in a plus 300 live bet on Ons earlier today. So let's go. St. Stevens, thanks for checking in, my friend. Let's see, 5-3 here in the tiebreaker in favor of Alcaraz, now 6-3.
Trouble.
Yeah, there is. We're down 21-74 on our position here on Rune. So maybe we should have just cut bait a little while back. That's okay. we can always scratch back cash, which is the great thing about cash.
So he gets to serve first in the second set. We got that going for us. Mm-hmm. He's mentally tough, so I wouldn't say this tiebreak is over, although doesn't feel great. He gets two. You get back-to-back service points here. No, not good. All right. Well, let's review the stats a little bit here and then make a decision what to do, I guess.
Great returns there. Unbelievable. And a little emotion from Alcaraz.
Yeah.
A lot of emotion. I can't say we saw that much. But he takes the first set, 7-6. So down 28-26, but a lot of tennis to be played. Drew, I know we said we would do the first set. Have we wet the whistle enough to come back and maybe do another one?
Yeah, for sure. You want to shoot for let's see, women's semis on Friday?
On Friday, my Friday's wide open. Now
we do on Sabalenka.
Let's do it. Okay. I'm excited. I know we got a lot of questions about that one. So everyone watching who asked about that Sabalenka matchup, you better come right back here and watch.
That one's gonna be awesome. It's probably gonna be right around the same time, 8 o'clock. My time, 11 o'clock your time. Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks for waking up with us, Drew. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been awesome. If you are a tennis betting novice like me, or you're a hardened tennis bettor like some of the people in the comments, this has been awesome. So thanks for joining again. If you're in Jersey, download Sport Trade, give us a look. If not, then give us a look anyway. Tell us that we're great. Drew, you've been great. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk in a couple days, my friend. Thanks so much.
Best of luck, guys.